welcome to video 4 of the project. Before we get started, let's look at a quick ad for my new mountain pack and stay tuned. Okay, let's dive into it, guys. So first off, we're going to create the tray and then we're going to create the vase. So first thing I want to do is I want to come in and I want to add a circle with 16 vertices and 11-inch radius. And now let's go ahead and let's start doing our extrusion and our sizing. I'm going to span it out. It's going to look like somewhat like a plate. But this is just like it's going to be a glass tray that the vase actually sits in. Vase, however you say it. Sometimes I'll call it vase, sometimes I'll call it vase just to make both parties happy. Let's do a grid fill. And let's get that straightened up. And then next what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to add some thickness, but I do not want to use solidify modifier. I want to actually control the thickness here. So I'm going to go to front ortho, go to X-ray mode. And then I am extruding and scaling, but I want to make sure that the walls here that you're looking at are parallel. So the outside wall needs to be parallel with the inside wall. And then I'm going to extrude and scale it in a few times, and then I'm going to grid fill it. And that allows us the ability to control the thickness of our object by modeling the thickness in there. Next thing I want to do is I want to come in here. I want to grab some edges and I want to start putting some bevels on it, because I am in my head thinking about how this is going to look when we apply sub D. Because remember, in previous videos, we determined that the bevels will restrict where and how much sub D can just smooth everything out. So the next thing I want to do is here on the bottom is I want to create an edge loop here. And I'm going to use it as a guide to basically create a lip down here on the bottom. And let's hit the C key. That's going to allow me to select all these faces really quick and make it a little bit bigger because it ain't going fast enough. There we go. That's a lot better. And then I'm going to take all of this down here and I'm just going to extrude this up on Z just a hair, just to give this a nice little lip up under here. And in order to keep that lip nice and defined, I want to bevel the edges. So let's do that. Yeah, that looks good. Now let's put some support loops in here. After I do like let's bevel this one first before I do that. Get us a little bit fatter bevel. Okay. And let's put some support loops on the outside just to help the geometry there, support that geometry. Let's go ahead and bevel in this inner piece here. Can be a bit fatter bevel here, which is fine because I want it to taper in nice and smooth. And let's put a support loop here and let's run level 3 sub D and shade smooth, and we are done modeling the tray. That quick. All right, so now what we want to do is I want to come in here and start making this vase for it. But before I do that, let's go ahead and give this thing a name. It's called model.tray. I'm going to create a collection. I'm going to call it model.vase-flowers. Like I said in all my videos, you feel free to change the name all you want. I'm literally coming up with these names on the fly, and I'm going to delete my camera and my light in that collection there, just so this is just a model. And if you notice, I'm giving this thing a name of model in the models folder like we did with the previous two. So they're all in there together. Now let's come in here and create a circle. 16 verts. I'm gonna scale it down a little bit, and this is gonna be the base of the vase. Go to edit mode, I'm gonna scale it like so. And notice it's hovering above the surface of the tray, but we can fix that later. And what I want to do is I want to come in here and then I want to just kind of fill this circle in. And notice I'm using extrude and sizing and then a grid fill. Then I'm going to come out here and select this outer edge. And then from there, we can start extruding it up. And this is going to be the base of our vase. That rhymes, so you know it's got to be good, right? So get extrude on Z, scale in. And we can come in here and we can redefine the shape of this later if you like. And I'll show you. I'm going to create a nice loop here. And let's use the sizing and see that changes the shape here a little bit. Like so. And then let's go back to our previous loop and let's keep building this thing upward. So I want to put like a nice little bevel right here as well. So I'm going to extrude up a little bit and then I'm going to scale this outward, extrude up again a little bit on Z, extrude up again on Z, and then scale it in. And then I want to extrude it up on Z just a hair, and then we're going to start spanning this out to build the shape of our vase itself that the flowers are going to sit in. So, like I said, guys, I'm literally doing the same operation through most of this. Extrude Z, extrude size, that kind of thing, and then beveling things to tighten it up. All right. And yet again, I want to control the thickness. So I'm going to do a similar trick. I'm going to go to X-ray mode, go to front ortho, and then I'm going to extrude this down. And if you notice, I'm coming to where that same edge loop is and kind of scaling it in so that the walls on the outside, on the inside are parallel. Now I'm going to bring it all the way down on Z so it comes down straight. And then I'm going to scale it in to make sure that, yet again, outside and inside walls are parallel. And then I'm going to bring it down just a hair because I don't want it to go all the way down into the neck of the vase. I want it to stop like right here. I'm just going to make mine flat because for the sake of this render, it doesn't really matter. If you wanted yours to be rounded, like you see in a lot of real glasses, it's very easy. You just grab a vertices in that grid fill, turn proportional editing on, adjust the size of the brush, and then just pull it down. That'll round it off for you. All right. So now let's get this in the collection. I gave it a name, and let's do the little bevel action here. So I'm going to tighten up the rim of the vase here, and then you're going to see I'm going to tighten up these little joints. And the reason why I'm doing these separately, because I'm determining in real time whether or not I want to make these bevels different or not. I know from here to here they'll be the same, so I'll do these at the same time. This one down here, I'm kind of determining as I go, because I'm seeing this vase in my head. Believe it or not, I'm actually not looking at the real one. Okay, tighten that up down there at the bottom. Let's tighten this up in here. So when we run sub D, it has some nice definition in here. And let's do some support loops. Okay. Level 3, shade smooth. And now I'm looking down here at the bottom of the vase. It looks kind of funky. Also, to me, it looks like this vase is too small for that tray. The proportion doesn't look right. But you'll see it's super easy to fix that. But yeah, this bottom looks a little fat. So once we get it in place, what I want to do is I want to adjust that. The nice thing about it is that you can, and you can do it very easily. So looking at how fat this is right now, it just doesn't look right. So let's go here, select this loop around here, and let's put a little bit of bevel on it because it's going to tighten it down a little bit. Like so, and then let's grab this one, and instead of going out, let's just go in with it. Make it look more like a chalice. Yeah, I like that. And like I said, it looks a little small. So I'm thinking let's select everything. But before I do that, let me go ahead and put these little grooves in here because I want it to have like a pinched look all the way around it. So I'm just selecting all these loops here, and the only thing I need to do is crease them. We don't need to put bevels here. because I want to have a pinch look. I usually will use a crease for a pinch look. It's very subtle, but when we get that glass shader made, that'll look pretty good. So now let's go ahead and scale this thing up so that we can get our proportion from our vase to our tray looking a little bit more accurate. And let's get it where the bottom of the vase is sitting right on top of the surface of the tray. Like so. Yeah. I like it. And notice our scale is right. So now what I'm gonna do, instead of like making flowers from scratch, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna go to Blender Kit and I'm gonna find a flower that looks good enough. If you notice here, the lock icon means I can't download the paid ones because I don't have a paid subscription anymore, only because I don't use it much. But if you happen to use Blender Kit, I highly recommend the paid subscription so you can get all those models, and they're awesome. Like I said, for me, I just don't use it a whole lot anymore, so I just hadn't paid for it anymore. So, but I'll use the free materials. I mainly use it for materials, but I brought in this flower just to get flowers in here. And this is indicative of the real world. If you don't have to make something, don't make it. Download it. But if it's something you need to make that's very specific, like a particular product, you're gonna have to do the work to build it. And this is kind of what I'm showing you in the videos. Flowers, you can get flowers from anywhere. All right, so I'm just kind of positioning these guys in here, because really the whole purpose of the flowers is to show like a place setting in the dining room. I don't care if they're pansies or daisies or roses or whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of irrelevant. So we just want to bring in something that looks nice, right? So I'm using Alt D, which I'm creating an alias. And what an alias is it is an identical linked copy of the original object. And the other thing that's beneficial about an alias versus a duplicate, which is Shift D, is with an alias, it doesn't eat any more memory. It doesn't use up any more memory consumption. So I gotta have like 1,000,000 flowers on the screen, and my understanding is Blender reads it as like one flower. It's just reduplicating it on the screen. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm coming in here and I'm grabbing in and making a loop. I'm gonna make a loop here because I'm gonna create some soil for the flowers to sit in, because the stems were not quite long enough to sit on the bottom. And I'm gonna hit Command plus or Control plus if you're on a PC. All the way up is about this far. And I wanna separate my selection out and create a new object with it. So now I'm gonna come back in here and I want to have it by itself. I wanna come in here, select that loop, and then I just wanna fill it in. That puts a bottom on it. And since it's dirt, I basically need to fill in this top. So the best way of doing that, instead of creating a giant mess here, a big N-gon, I'm just gonna extrude and scale, and then I'm gonna do a grid fill on the last part of this. Then I'm gonna tighten up this edge just a little bit. I mean, I don't need a razor sharp edge here. And then what I wanna do is I'm gonna go into sculpt mode. And granted, there's not a ton of geometry here because I haven't even run any, I don't have the subdivision turned on yet. But I'm just kind of taking a brush here, and I'm just putting some divots in it and inflating it a little bit at the top just to make it look like uneven dirt. It doesn't need to be super detailed, because keep in mind, guys, this is going to be in a glass container and you're not going to really notice it from the perspective of the camera. See, I just want to make sure there's something in there. So when this glass is transparent, you can see there's dirt. So I'm giving it a name. And I want to move my flowers into my same collection there. And let's save out my file. And now, for the most part, we're done modeling. So let's go here and take a quick look at it. So now it's time to do like the foo-foo stuff, as we call it, like the fancy stuff. So now I'm coming back to the tray. I'm going to go to isolation mode. I'm going to go to shading. I'm going to create a new shader. Actually, let's go into material view or look dev mode. And let's create a new shader here. And let's give it a name. I'm gonna call it material.tray. And this, I'm making it a little bit different because it's gonna be slightly different. And what I wanna do here is I wanna bring in a displacement mode or node, not mode. And after the height, I want to bring in an image texture that's connected to color. And then in here, I'm going to bring in my mapping node and my texture coordinate node. And then under assets, I've got a file that can be downloaded from my Gumroad in the description for free. Making it non-color. It's a black and white photo I made of a pattern for the bottom of it. And you're going to see what this does. I'm running this as a displacement, and notice this is very important. I'm running this in cycles with experimental on, and then when I go into my shader settings, I've got under settings, I turn displacement and bump on. Now for this one, you could only, you don't have to do displacement and bump because that eats up more RAM. I've just got a machine that can run it, no problem. You really only need to do displacement only because we're not really running a bump texture here. And you're gonna see that when I get to messing and making this glass here, you're gonna see something pretty cool here in a second. So I got transmission up. Now, the second part of this is you gotta UV unwrap it. So I'm projecting this out on my image, and I'm just gonna scale it up like so. And I want to see the render view and what it looks like. I'm gonna need to change some settings, but see there's that design that's in the glass. It looks like it's etched in the glass. And this is the way this is done in Blender. When you see people with super detailed stuff, 9 times out of 10 they didn't carve all of that. I wouldn't, because one, it'd take too long, and number two, it'd take forever to render because it would be etched in geometry. However, when you run a displacement, it actually creates real geometry, but you can adjust it. You can adjust the strength of it. So that's what displacement does. Bump kind of is smoke and mirrors, it fakes it. So I'm kind of coming in here, screwing with my glass shader, trying to make this look like glass without getting too crazy with it. And then we're gonna come back out and let's do a different shader for the vase, because I don't want that design in it. I'm just gonna do a regular glass shader for this. Let's create a new texture. I'm gonna double tap, we're double clicking here. I'm gonna call it material.vase. I'm just gonna crank down my roughness. I'm gonna screw up my index of refraction. Usually the lower that number, the more see-through it is. The higher the number, the more distortion and cloudiness the glass looks. Best way I can describe it. And you want to change that if you're doing water versus glass versus frosted glass versus, something else, plastic, that kind of thing. Index of refraction, that value is really important to mimic certain materials, especially when you turn transmission on, which gives it the transparency. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to Blender Kit, go under materials, and I'm looking for a material for soil. Like I said, why create this when you don't have to? Just pull it from another creator that's already made the material for you. That's the purpose. It helps us work fast and smart. Also, notice I'm going back in here. I'm going to turn displacement and bump on. So if this shader has displacement, we'll see it in here. So it'll look like it'll look bumpy. It'll look really bumpy. In other words, it'll look more realistic. And I'm going to go into film, turn transparency on so we're not distracted so much by that background. And now we have created a tray with etched glass. We have created a vase that's clear glass, and we've created flowers and dirt. So we're done. If you like this, click subscribe and turn the notifications on. And for more videos, we'll have more stuff coming up. I'm glad you guys joined this. We've done it again, and hope to see you in the next video.